Hello everybody, my name's Sean Woolley, I'm the Managing Director of Cloudninespain. With me I have two very special guests, Sarah and Martin Smith. Hello guys.
Hi there.
I got to know Sarah and Martin a few years ago now, and they've become good friends of mine. And the reason I wanted to bring them onto our podcast today is to talk about how it's been for them in terms of owning a property over here in Spain for how many years, guys?
25.
25 years.
Yeah.
Good heavens. Didn't realise it was that long. And also to talk about the pros and cons of Spanish home ownership, what they've got out of it over the 25 years, and how their kids have grown up here and enjoyed it or not enjoyed it, the pitfalls that people may need to watch out for, and also we'll finish off by talking about the current issues surrounding the COVID pandemic, whether it's altered their thoughts about the lifestyle here or their use of the property, and also how they're going to get home next week. But anyway, we'll come on to that. Just to set the scene, we are in Sarah and Martin's lovely home on the new Golden Mile. We're actually in the basement because it's a hot one today. So we've come indoors, we've got the aircon on, so if you can hear any buzzing in the background, that's either my tinnitus or it's the aircon. But let's start off by sort of asking you, what prompted you guys to buy a place here?
Oh, having said that, I'd follow Sarah. In fact, this started because of me, really. I mean, the first property we bought, which is right next door to where we are now, was really bought with me and my business partner, with the express thought that it would be great for clients, bring them over, banks that we deal with, we're a finance company, so bring them over around a golf, meal, home, and at the same time, of course, we could bring the family over. So,
okay. So it's a bit of a mixture.
It satisfied. It was a really very useful place to get to know people that you want to do business with or you enjoy doing business with, but you probably wouldn't get to know them anywhere near as well as we did get to know them.
So you actually did that. So because a lot of, I know some clients, they buy it with that idea in mind of like a corporate entertaining space, but then they sort of fall in love with it themselves and don't want anyone to come near it.
Well,
you actually did that?
We did that, yeah. To the point where we sort of had almost regular golf tours with the same kind of either people who'd passed us business or banks that had accepted the business that we'd got.
Okay.
So it became very, very useful. And what happened, of course, subsequently, you bring your family over, and they were very young in those days, and Sarah comes over, and you have the other part of the home, which is, you know, watching them grow up in the same, on this estate. It's a beautiful estate, lots of bars and restaurants, everybody knows our kids, you know.
For good reasons,
especially the bars and restaurants.
From a parent's point of view, we knew what we were coming to. So, you know, you could leave your clothes here, and we got to know the area, so we always knew what we were coming to. It's only a 2.5 hour flight, 2.75 hour flight, so it was easy to, you know, keep kids quiet on that flight because it's only short. We knew what we were coming to, and it, you know, in those days the kids were really, really young, and it was good.
Because they must have like grown up here.
They have, they have.
They all three of the kids are redheads, as you know, Sean. So you get notorious because everybody remembers the ginger-headed kids that. So year in, year out, they just got bigger and bigger, but they're still ginger. Bless them.
Had you owned anywhere else before? Because you mentioned obviously the first one you bought here was with your business partner at the time, and then you bought this one next door. But before that, had you owned anywhere, or did you have any?
Not before this first purchase. No, which is. We were fortunate. I mean, going back to what you do for a living, we were fortunate to have a really good realty expert, and he showed us some really great properties. One or two out of our price range, sadly. One I fell in love with, which was on the same estate but much closer to the beach. But it was just a bit too much, so we decided on this one overall in balance. It was a great estate, it was a good property, and we could just about afford it. Right.
And what you've got here is a beautiful villa. You've got your own pool, and you've got a newly added hot tub, cold tub, which is more than a tub, guys, by the way.
We used to walk past this to the property next door and always look at it and go, I really like that property, and we'd stand on the balcony and look over in the garden.
Yes.
And
that was you.
It didn't have it didn't have a pool when we bought it. So, and where we're sat now in the basement, we've modified all this as well. So we did a lot of work to it before we actually moved in.
Okay. Can you ever imagine it not being in your lives?
No, absolutely not. Absolutely.
Because you use it quite a lot, don't you?
I mean, we're not. I don't.
You're always there.
Yeah, I don't come in the winter. That's the only thing.
Why don't you come in the winter? Because surely that's the
I
time
always
to use
think
it.
I can have rain at home. I don't. Why do I want to come here and have rain? I think we might use it a bit more now.
Spain. Whoever told you that?
Yeah. I think we might use it a bit more now. Actually,
I come on a golf tour in November every year, and we never ever have bad weather.
Because isn't it weird? Because I obviously live here full time, and I would love to get out of here. Finances permitting, I would love to get out of here to a holiday home in London in July and August.
Yeah.
And you're the other way then. So you think summers, I'm over in Spain.
I think because historically we've always come over here. We've had to be guided by school holidays.
Of course.
So we've always come over sort of July, August, and Easter, half-term breaks. Those have traditionally been the times that we've come over.
Yeah.
But now that's different because our kids are grown up and working in university, so we're finding we're sort of getting used to the idea that we can come anytime we like, really now.
Yeah.
Because traditionally we go home at the end of summer, and now we're saying, right, well, actually, we could now extend it to September, October, and they're less busy months as well. So
the children are away. They're not school age, are they? They're grown up, so they're coming on their own, I guess, now as well.
Well, they are,
yeah.
They bring their friends over, yeah.
And for you guys, I know that you run a successful business back in the UK. Is it? Have you got the flexibility to be able to come here and work from here? Does it suit your work lives as well as your leisure time, or do you still need to?
I don't go in much anymore. I've got an MD to do the day-to-day running of the business. I tend to go in for board meetings, which recently we've all realised that we can do that via Zoom.
Of course.
And I've been doing that for the last several months. So I don't see now. Potentially before, I think it would have been frowned upon had I not even been bothered to go in to do the board meetings. But now people are used to seeing, how Zoom works.
They trust
I
it
could
a bit more,
easily.
don't
I could easily. Well, in fact, I've got to self-isolate when I get back,
And we'll come on to that,
there's a board meeting in a couple of days, so that will be a Zoom meeting for me, but not for everyone else.
Right. Okay. And you find that do people frown upon you for sitting in your pad in Spain and not being part of the fun back in the UK?
They could do if I behaved in a certain way, but I don't. So I don't think they resent it.
You don't rub it in their faces.
No.
Okay.
I think Zoom's opened up a whole new world for people. Actually, it's
this
really changed the way that people can work.
Yeah, I think people realise there's other ways of doing things.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think that's got to be good for your business, because I think more and more people. I mean, Sarah's a nutritionist.
Yeah.
When she started on that, we only thought it would really be of interest to local people who could come and see her, but now it's opened up the whole of the UK.
I do online consultations, and you don't necessarily have to let people know where you are.
No.
Nobody needs to know that you're in Spain, because if you're on Zoom, it doesn't. I guess it doesn't share your location.
It's the virtual world, isn't it?
Yeah. When you're opening bottles of champagne in front of them, though, I mean, I think they get a hint that you're on holiday.
Yeah, when you're on your sun lounger.
Yeah. No, but you just choose a blank back wall and you're fine.
Well, you can get your own backdrops.
You can actually,
which is amazing.
Yeah. So you could be anywhere. So you could be anywhere.
Okay. In terms of enhancing your lives, having a place in Spain, what do you think it's done to enhance your lives? Because obviously it's a burden. You've got to look after the place, or get someone to look after the place. It's an expense.
Yeah.
But in terms of what you've got out of it from a positive point of view, what would you say those main things are?
I think it gives you flexibility. So, if you decide it's a Wednesday and you decide you want to go away on a Friday for a long weekend, you can just hop on a plane.
Yeah.
It's just not far, and you know that the property's there waiting for you. You know what you're going to.
That used to be a lot easier, in fairness. I think because we come from the West Midlands, as people could probably gather by my accent, flights were far more plentiful before, Monarch went and a couple of others. So it's less like that for us now. We have to be a bit more organised and planned.
Well, we're not even talking about the current situation, though, are we? I mean, it's a bit more difficult now with.
But I think there are other parts of the world. Certainly, if you're doing the Gatwick Heathrow hub, you could get a flight out here at the drop of a hat, and you wouldn't have to worry too much. But
there's a lot. Yeah, there's quite a few airports. I mean, there's East Midlands, there's Bristol, there's all sorts. There's kids can come. Laura was booking. She lives in Liverpool. She was coming out of Liverpool. So
we've. I think I got in the habit of just thinking about what the costs are of running the place, because obviously I take the responsibility of those. And we did have another property home, and what I've forgotten to take into consideration is how much actually the kind of holidays we'd want would cost us above and beyond what this place costs us, because we probably wouldn't be going into sort of run-of-the-mill hotels, because we like when we go on holiday, we like our own comforts. So I don't think running these places is as expensive if you take that number off the alternative costs to do what you want to do. So if we came down here, we'd probably want to stay somewhere like
Punta Romano
or Marbella Club, or some of the bigger hotels up in the mountains, which they can be thousands a day.
Yeah, they can.
Now I get that people then say, but you don't have the headache. Well, actually, it's not a headache when you come to a place like this and you've got all your clothes already there, and all you've taken is your passport. It's not much of a headache, really.
That was my next question, really, because some clients say to me, well, why buy a place in Spain when I can just have holidays all over the place, and why be tied to one place? But from my point of view, having owned second homes in the UK and kind of flipped it on its head, is that there's nothing quite like getting to your own place with your own bed, your own linens, your own towels, a few of your own clothes there. There's a comfort. Sky Sports, absolutely, Sky Sports. But there's a degree of comfort around that, isn't there? Which you don't get even in the swankiest hotels. No. It's not your space, is it?
No, and when you've got kids, let me tell you, they can run up a bill, room service charges.
Oh gosh,
it's not like just going to your own fridge and grabbing a beer. I mean, it's they can rack up a few charges.
And they get very excited at being able to put everything on the room.
Oh, I bet.
When you
and then laughing when they see the bill at the end.
Well,
they're not in sight.
They don't see the bill. They just see the ashen look on my face. and then at that point, they're just putting luggage in the back of the car and hoping it goes away by the time I get to the airport.
I think those are the positives. It's home from home, and you know exactly what you're coming to.
This may be an unfair question to you guys, particularly because I know you're very well travelled. But do you ever get sick of coming to the same place?
Well, that's a difficult one to ask us, actually, because we do go to other places. We don't just come here. We do make sure that we travel. So
I think you struggle to get sick.
I don't think you get sick of it, really. No.
That's why I love.
Because I guess familiarity is also nice.
Also you get to know people. People get to know you. We have our favourite restaurants that we go to, and people know us. They get a warm welcome off them. We now can
get
send the
invited
kids
to their weddings.
Yeah, we do. We now.
That's been 25 years.
They now know our kids, so we know that the kids have got somewhere that they can go to, and they get a warm welcome as well.
It's nice.
I was going to ask what sort of things you enjoy doing. Not too much detail, Sarah. That you enjoy doing when you are here, because obviously it's downtime for you guys. I appreciate that there's an element of work involved because you've got to keep an eye on your businesses back in the UK. But what are the things that you do here that maybe you wouldn't do back in the UK?
Lie around the pool.
That one.
well, the phrase "shall we go to the beach for lunch?" because there's a lovely beach bar not far from us. You don't get that in the middle of Birmingham. They did.
Close
once,
your eyes and imagine.
Hold on, they did once make. Can you believe they made a beach under Spaghetti Junction?
No.
Yes, but that's a long way for us. So just to walk down, 500 yards to the beach bar is probably something we wouldn't do at home.
I think it's a pleasure to wake up in the morning and look outside and see blue sky, and the sun's nearly always shining, particularly at this time of year. But it's a pleasure to just open up the doors, leave all the doors open, and just wander in and out of the house. We don't need to go anywhere else, really. We do kind of have our own lockdown, don't we, really?
You're in paradise, really, aren't you?
Yeah.
What about the kids? Obviously, they're a massive part of your lives. They've grown up here pretty much all their lives, I guess.
Yeah.
They've had time here every year. How has it benefited them, do you think? What are the key advantages do you think they've been exposed to by having a holiday home over here?
Confidence, I think.
Really?
I mean, it makes a big difference to them because
just in terms of who they're
I think,
interacting
well,
with?
they're used to going, arranging a table. You know, we're not always here with them, so they'll arrange a table. They'll know what to order.
Mm-hmm.
That they're always welcomed by people who've seen them grow up, and that's a big confidence. And often now, what we get is their friends coming with them.
Yeah.
So they're able to arrange taxis, nights out, you know, and that's a confidence. I mean, obviously, the next phase for them is probably getting married and having their own kids, and I mean, this is perfect for that.
Yeah.
I mean, Sarah and I sometimes talk about, as we're getting older, maybe just getting an apartment overlooking the beach.
You're going to say having more kids? Then?
Hell no.
I think that
ship has well and truly sailed.
It's gone, that one. On both fronts. But I think we'd be selfish if we did that, because I think the kids will bring their own kids here, which is nice.
Yeah,
and,
absolutely.
I think the one thing that you have to think about as well within growing up and what they've benefited from is a lot of memories. You know, they brought their friends over. We've had a house full of kids everywhere, pull-out beds, everything, haven't we? Like, going out, booking tables for 22 people.
I guess they've learned to swim here and stuff like that.
Absolutely, yeah.
All those, as you say, it's creating memories, isn't it? As
it
a family.
really is, and they've got really good memories to look back on. You know, we all have, really. Yeah.
So I guess from what you just said, you wouldn't consider trading it in or downsizing or upsizing here. It kind of
we've kind of discussed
you.
it, as Martin said, and I just think that it would be selfish of us because the kids have grown up here, and I think that in time, you know, they will probably have kids and they'll benefit from the same kind of childhood memories here.
Yeah.
I think if you get a condo in a community, I think you have to have a certain mentality for that.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think I've got it. I think I'm far too antisocial to be lying next to somebody in the pool area that I don't know.
Because here you've got the best of both worlds, haven't you? Because you've got your own space, you've got your own beautiful garden, pool, jacuzzi, but you also do have some communal facilities.
Do
you ever use them?
We did when the kids were younger because
we only used to have a plunge pool.
We only had like a 6-foot plunge pool, so we used to go and use the community then, and it's great.
It's a great
They've made friends there.
Yeah,
it's a great pool. Yeah,
but as they've grown up, I suppose it's nicer to have your own.
We're quite insular, really, aren't we? We do keep ourselves to ourselves, but that's the beauty of having a villa over an apartment. But that may not suit some people. They may want to interact with other people. How
do you feel? Because what we sometimes have a discussion about with clients is obviously with a villa, there's a little bit more maintenance involved.
There is,
because obviously with an apartment on a community, it's looked after by the community. Anything wrong with it is pretty obvious. But obviously this place, I guess having been over here for 25 years, you've got a good management company, you've got people you can rely on to fix any problems, and if the pool's leaking, you can sort it out.
Yeah, we're very fortunate. We have a really good management company that look after this place. But there are pros and cons. I mean, obviously the whole estate is looked after from a community perspective.
Yeah.
That's really cheap as well. $3,000 a year. It's the cheapest. It's the best $3,000 I spend a year. Because they are so good, and the place is spotless.
Do you know, it's interesting because we get some clients who come to us who have no concept of paying community fees because they've they've got their own maybe detached property in the UK. Of course, it's their kingdom and it's their land. But when it comes to paying community fees over here, it's like, well, for goodness sake, what am I paying for? And when I actually explain, well, on some communities you're paying for landscaping, the pools, the gardens, the security, the lifts, the cleaning. All of a sudden they get it. And it's interesting because our clients from London who are more used to that way of living, to them it's like, I get it.
Yeah.
But people up north, like where I'm from,
I suppose the ones in London want to know why it's so cheap, I would imagine. Why isn't it more expensive?
Yeah, I know.
Do they do it right?
I know, it's very true. Yeah.
On the topic of maintenance, really, when we come here, there is always something that needs to be done. Always something. Whether it's the coffee machine not working, oh dear, what a problem.
Yeah.
Or, like now, we need a new fridge. There is always something that needs doing. But
isn't that the same
so
with
isn't
any
it in your own
home?
home? Exactly, yeah. It's
because
the same
a lot
in
of
your
people,
own home.
again, sort of, they're almost too hands off. A lot of people who buy here think, well, it's Spain, it's paradise, nothing can go wrong. And of course, things do go wrong.
Yeah, they do.
Like you say, you might leave a window open, and all of a sudden it rains, and you've got water in the kitchen.
Or the you get here and one of the aircon units needs regassing, or there is always something that needs doing, always, without a doubt.
Anybody looking to buy needs to be aware of that. But that's part of life, isn't it?
It is. It's not just a Spain thing, is it? I always think the more things you have, the more that can go wrong.
Absolutely, yeah.
I mean this particular room was filled with water because you remember 2 years ago with all the rain. Yeah. We had to have all this dried and washed and cleaned.
You had Noah's Ark down here at one stage.
Yeah, it was because it all comes
down the road.
So things like that, but then you do need a really good maintenance company.
That's essential, actually. Anyone that thinks that they can do it without a management company, I think you've got to get real about it. Yeah, be realistic.
I agree. What is it? I mean, is there anything you think we can learn from the Spanish? Because obviously you are in a fortunate position that you have a lovely home in the UK, you have a lovely home here. Are there any bits of Spain or any bit of the Spanish way of life or attitude that you would quite happily transport back to the UK?
Siestas.
I thought you were going to say the measures on the vodkas.
Siestas, not the measures on the gin, without a doubt.
I think things just seem slower here. The people themselves take a bit more time, and I don't mean bad service because everywhere we go, we get really good service, and only the odd occasion when you potentially try somewhere new and they don't know you, then. Go back to that thing about what you get out of coming to the same place. You get bloody good service whenever you go somewhere, and by the way, always tip well because that makes sure that next time you come back when you bought a holiday home, you get looked after.
I agree.
I just think it's a much slower. Yeah. The Spanish themselves, although they talk very quickly, actually are quite a bit more laid back than people in the UK, when you see them.
I agree. And it's not necessarily about getting stuff done, because I find it hard to get stuff done in the UK. You can't get a builder or a plumber for love nor money. No. But here, you're right. I don't know if it's because the days are longer, but everything seems like...
Yeah, they're very family orientated as well. You notice in the restaurants that they take the whole families out. And that was one thing that was quite clear early on when we were here with young children. It doesn't matter if you've got young kids in the restaurant, they don't
even
care.
If they've got ginger hair.
Yeah.
They were let in.
I don't know. I've had a few complaints.
Even ginger-headed kids were welcome.
My goodness, have they got a plaque on the door?
I've got to thank the Spaniards for that. Just that alone.
But I think if there's something we can learn, it's to slow down a little bit. I think.
The way I describe it is when people ask me what the difference is. I mean, I've been here 20 years, and I say to people, here I feel 10 years younger than I am, so I feel 20. What are you laughing at?
Thank God it's a podcast.
Yeah, exactly. And when I'm back in the UK, I feel 10 years older than I am. I feel like almost I'm in the UK. You're almost expected to retire at a certain age and go grey and wear grey clothes and go into a nursing home and die and live in a grey country. Whereas here you can kind of be 85 dancing on the tables at 3 in the morning.
No one bats an eyelid.
No one bats an eyelid. It's almost like accepted behaviour. Yeah. Can you imagine doing that in England? You'd get locked up, wouldn't you?
Yeah, you would.
So when I say that, people think, interesting. But I don't know if you found that you just feel... I don't know if this is like a grown-up's playground. I don't know.
It's a bit anything goes, isn't it, really?
I think you've witnessed Sarah and her friends when they're over here dancing on tabletops.
I haven't quite recalled. That's who I was referring to.
Exactly. And I've got to say, thankfully I've missed that side, but
but you're right, because I think, so when we were out and about, we're all around about late 40s, and I think there is an expectation in the UK that you're not meant to have fun. And I think that you come here and you can have fun. You go out, you have a laugh, you can do a bit of dancing,
if you're in your late 40s and in your 50s, you go to the gastro pub, don't you, on a Friday night, and then you go home.
That's exactly what we do.
But here, there's almost like an excuse, and it's not because it's a holiday place. I think it's just because, as you say, it's a different pace in the way.
I think that's another thing that we should mention. Really, is that. It's not just about bringing our family here, of course. We bring friends here as well, and that's a great vent. You come and you just relax with you, have a right good laugh with your friends. Martin bring his mates over. They play a few rounds of golf, and it's good for that as well, isn't it?
Well, it's certainly good for golf. I mean, the courses are exceptional.
World class, aren't they? Absolutely. What do we think of this latest situation? So you guys came here a few weeks ago,
Yeah.
and you're due to go home, I think, on
Monday.
And obviously the UK has
Thrown
recently
a curveball at us.
Yeah, they've quarantined you, haven't they, on the way back?
Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm going to ask you, because obviously everyone's got a different view on this. Have your sort of lifestyle perceptions changed since this COVID thing? I mean, are you more relaxed about life? Or are you more gung ho about life? That life is there for living now, and or has it made you more cautious and scared about what's ahead of us?
There does seem to be two camps, doesn't there?
I think we were. I was a bit worried about flying out and what that was going to look like, really. But it was perfectly fine. I mean, you've got to have a mask on the plane. Yes, you've got to socially distance getting on the plane, and then when the plane lands, you can all stand up and be next to each other, getting stuff out the overhead lockers. Some of it doesn't make any sense, really. But I think you've not got to be scared. I don't feel scared, and I think, all right, we wash our hands a bit more and we put hand gel on. Obviously here we're walking around in a mask, but the minute you sit down at a table, you take it off. It's not,
What do you think of the precautions that are being put in place by the Spanish? Because obviously I haven't been to the UK for some time now, probably 6 months or so. You guys have come from the UK just after lockdown was lifted. You've come over here, you've seen what we've been doing here in terms of how we've been trying to contain this virus. Are there any big differences that you've seen? Or
So as we came out, I think it was a few retail shops were opening up again. There weren't any bars open.
In the UK?
Yeah, and there wasn't any mask wearing, and it was optional. And now pretty much everything's opened up in the UK while we've been away, so that'll be interesting to go back to, actually. And I know you're having to wear masks in shops and shopping centres, so we'll see how that goes. But I feel safe here. I don't have an issue with it at all. I really don't feel that I'm going to sit down and catch coronavirus. Maybe that's a bit gung-ho of me.
Yeah, the feedback I've had from the majority of my clients, and everyone's got a different view, but the majority of my clients have said that here it feels like the rules are being enforced in a better way.
I think so.
I think the UK still feels a little bit, am I supposed to do this? Am I not supposed to do this? Whereas here we were locked up basically for 2 weeks. We couldn't go out. And then it's been quite a strict lockdown. I think the difference here as well is that, if you don't comply, you're going to get stopped by a copper with a gun.
Yeah.
So you are going to comply.
Yeah.
I think in the UK, it's particularly when you've got politicians roaming around the country doing what they want. I think people have said, well, I'm not going to adhere to it.
It does vary a little bit here, to be honest with you. I mean, we did see people yesterday, quite a few people walking along the front without a mask on, but they're not next to anybody. But it's the rule; they should be wearing it at the end of the day.
But we also noticed that and this is a beach bar, so you'd expect they'd be a bit more relaxed than most. But a lady came in, her husband had got a mask, she hadn't, and they refused to let them in.
Right, that's good. That's good to know.
So, okay, you can't suddenly pull somebody off the boardwalk and say put a mask on, although you can give them a dirty look, because the idea is we've got to wear one. Why shouldn't you? Is my attitude. But it was nice to see that an establishment that could quite easily have just turned a blind eye and taken an extra €50.
No, it's good to know. I mean, I think for what would probably be a short-term measure, and I'm talking weeks rather than months, I think we should all just do it, get on with it.
I think so, absolutely.
I think the difference is, from what I've seen, certainly sort of Puerto Banús, certainly the touristy places where you've got people who aren't necessarily Spanish, they seem to be flouting it a little bit.
Right, yeah.
Not in massive numbers, though.
No, not in massive numbers. Just the odd one, and it becomes noticeable, doesn't it?
Yes, it does. The odd young 2 or 3 lads who seem to think, well, it's not a young man's disease, is it? They're not going to, if they got it, they're probably not going to notice it. They're probably looking at us old guys thinking, well, if it takes you, then
we've
I don't care, I'll be all right, I'm all right.
We also noticed them cleaning the chairs and the tables whenever anybody leaves. They're thoroughly cleaning stuff.
They do.
And taxis are being thoroughly cleaned every time we get in and out.
Yeah.
I mean, we go to ours, don't we, when it picks us up, when the guy picks us up, and he's out there cleaning it every single time. So
I think the Spanish are taking it really seriously. And I'll tell you why. It's because of the family thing again with the Spanish. The Spanish, in Andalusia we've been quite protected actually, and I'll come on to some figures in a minute. But we haven't really seen a lot of it in Andalusia, and certainly not on the Costa del Sol. I know there's been a spike in Malaga recently, but on the Costa del Sol itself, so Marbella, Estepona, Benavis, Mijas, there's not really been in.
No, it's interesting looking at the statistics.
But a lot of Spanish have become very concerned by it because they're sick of burying their dead, and a lot of the elderly Spanish live with with their sons and daughters, and so it's really affected a lot of family mentality here. So I think that's why they're taking it seriously.
They also have a different attitude to older people in Spain,
they do,
which is just as well at my age, and so I've probably got 20 years of coming here left. So I'm thinking, well, at least I won't be dismissed out of hand like I would be in the UK.
So
but
I think
they do have a
absolutely
very positive attitude to elderly people, and they revere them. Certainly, that doesn't happen in the UK.
Yeah, and they keep them in the homes. So in the UK, you get shunted off to a nursing home when you're a little bit difficult to look after.
Yeah.
You know, when you start to wet yourself and things like that. But when you like the problem you're having at the moment.
Is that what tenor ladies
Oh, don't start me off.
I'll send you a pack.
But in the in Spain, it is different. I think they are still regarded as part of the family unit.
Yes.
And I think so. What I was getting at was if you walk around San Pedro or Marbella, where it's predominantly Spanish, everyone's wearing a mask.
Yes, they are.
And everyone's distancing, and everyone's very courteous and after you, and no overcrowding.
I think there's a lot of bad reporting as well. I think back to the UK.
Yeah,
Beaches
it's almost like a jealousy thing, isn't it?
No, they're not. The beaches aren't overcrowded.
Beaches aren't
We
overcrowded.
walked down San Pedro, and there's no one sat on top of each other.
I feel that they're using newsreels from 2 years ago, some of the pictures you see
and they're
on
using
the BBC.
The same Costa del Sol, and in the background you've got the Sagrada Familia from Barcelona. And you're like, hang on, that isn't the Costa del Sol.
And then they do it from a low angle, so that you don't see gaps between people who might be on the beach. You just see them sort of silhouetted against each other, so it doubles up.
It's very naughty. It's
sensationalism.
I'm more scared of the media than coronavirus. I'll be honest with you, because I think the media get it. I mean, this is another debate entirely, but I think the media is in danger of just running away with things at the moment. And it's everyone's got a voice. We have. Anyone can go onto Twitter. Anyone can go on Facebook and Instagram and TikTok, whatever it's called, and And then the media can pick that up and they can sensationalise it, like you say, and it's 24/7 media, isn't it? So, now, like in the old days, remember you went on holiday, you had to wait for your paper till the next morning.
That's right.
So you wouldn't know your football scores, would you, until 48 hours later or something?
It's a disgrace.
Whereas now we almost know too much, don't we?
Wrong podcast.
Yeah.
Yes, wrong podcast. But I don't know. But we've noticed a lot of that here, and I think the decision taken a few days ago by the UK government to impose this 14-day quarantine on people returning from Spain as a whole, including the islands, is outrageous.
Yeah. And to do it at 9 o'clock on a Saturday night with no notice to anybody.
Just as you're opening the bottle of Gordon's.
Well, just as we were
before then, actually.
just as we were arranging to drop one of our guests off to go back to the UK. They announced that she'll have to quarantine when she gets there. So
the stupid thing is, you could arrive at 5 to midnight and not have to go into quarantine. You could arrive at 5 past, and you're in quarantine for 14 days.
It doesn't make any sense.
I mean, this may be a conspiracy theory, but
go on, throw one in.
You know the fact that the UK government have been very, very kind to offer £10 discount on any meals that are purchased from a Tuesday to a Thursday, and believe me, looking at our local restaurants back in Solihull, they're all taking advantage of it, and I don't blame them at all. It's a bit suspicious that they've suddenly stopped people going to, well, let's be honest, 3/4 of Spain. It's perfectly safe. It may have something to do with wanting people to stay in the UK
I think it probably has.
And spending pounds rather than euros.
Yeah, and I kind of don't blame them for trying to make that happen, but it's a bit obvious. It's a bit kind of.
It's interesting they're giving people £10 vouchers to go and eat out in Wetherspoons, and then Boris is giving £50 repair vouchers for bikes for people to lose weight.
Yeah,
where's
the sense of it?
Where did we get all the money from?
I still don't know. But that in terms of the Spanish viewpoint, if you look at El País and you go to you speak to the Spanish locals, they're absolutely convinced that's the case. The reason the UK have done it is because they don't want the flight of money, even
Going
for a
out.
few weeks.
Yeah.
They don't want it leaving the UK. And as I say, I kind of get it, but for goodness sake.
There is a bit of a campaign for people to stay and holiday in the UK, isn't there?
Well, there is, but I think maybe that conspiracy theory. Maybe I wouldn't be surprised with our government where they didn't even occur to them. It's just as easy that's the case.
Yeah.
I can understand the Balearic Islands being incensed because they've had hardly any infection there. I mean,
well, that more than anything might point out the fact that they want to stop people because, I mean, Mallorca, Menorca, they're really popular in the UK.
I mean, in terms of the Costa del Sol Health District, because obviously Costa del Sol is part of Andalusia, Costa del Sol has recorded in total 1,176 confirmed cases.
Amazing.
Of which 60 were in the last 7 days. So it is increasing, but they always expected it to increase
It's going to increase when people start socialising
exactly.
with each other.
But what they were hoping was that they would be able to track those little outbreaks, and in the main they have done.
Yeah.
Because they've identified parties, social gatherings, christenings,
nightclubs,
where more people have got together than should have done, and they've actually tracked and traced them.
Yeah.
So Estepona, Marbella, Mijas, Fuengirola, Benalmádena and Torremolinos have recorded, these are cases, have recorded 116, 461, 103, 105, 191 and 172 cases respectively since the beginning of the pandemic. And I think it was about 70 odd in the last 14 days. And in terms of deaths, we've had 4 in Estepona, 15 in Marbella. This is since the start of the pandemic. 4 in Estepona, 15 in Marbella, 4 in Mijas, 3 in Fuengirola, 10 in Benalmádena, and 8 in Torremolinos. Mind you, I think I'd die if I went to Torremolinos as well. And we've had a lot of municipalities.
That's just from the water park.
Exactly. Yeah. But that's data from 3 days ago, so it's pretty accurate. So I don't know. It just seems a complete overreaction when I mean, yes, there have been spikes. There's absolutely no doubt about that. But as I say, we were expecting that. It just seems to be that the UK is out of kilter.
I would imagine I haven't looked at our own area, but I would imagine if you look at our own area, there aren't that many deaths. Our immediate area.
I think Solihull's 6 cases per
See what
10,000 people or something.
The most positive news, according to El País, which is one of the leading Spanish newspapers, is that the number of deaths has not increased. It's also possible that the virus is becoming, or simply appears to be, less lethal. So there's a weakening strain of the virus now, and more cases are being detected among young people who are of course, more resilient. So the average age of the new coronavirus cases is 48, as opposed to over 60 in April. So if you're 48, you've got a hell of a better chance of recovering quite easily than if you're 60 with asthma and heart disease or whatever. So anyway.
So out of all of us, I'm going to be alright then.
I knew that was coming, guys. On that note, so how are you getting home, or are you going to stay? By the way, I'm not going to ask you this question, but a lot of my clients have already told me they don't intend to quarantine back in the UK. Now, whether that's responsible, irresponsible, that's not for me to judge.
Okay,
But
I've got elderly parents, so I will quarantine when we get home because I need to go and see them. So yeah, we are going home because we've got responsibilities at home. So
can you get home?
Flights. Ryanair. He's a good lad. He's just
Jet2 are the problem ones.
Jet2 have stopped. I don't whether they've stopped taking people back. I don't know.
Right.
But
I would imagine they have because they're not going to fly here.
I've got a client stuck here at the moment on
Really?
Jet2. He's just rebooked with Ryanair for a day or two later.
Right.
It's an interesting one. I mean,
I've got to say, it's not putting me off coming back. By the way,
is it not?
I will still come back,
even if you then had to do another 14 days. There are 2 things.
But unfortunately, I can. I can. Not everyone can. Somebody might be a nurse, and they've got to take 14 days off work.
Because it's a massive issue for employers again, isn't it? I mean, it's like people are going to lose their jobs if they say, "I'm not," I can't come in for 14 days. So it's almost a moral issue for.
Well, I think that the kind of effect it's going to have on here is one of my chaps who's stayed in what used to be our old villa next door a few times was just going to nip over with his girlfriend and not book next door because that's not available, but he was going to go into the Senator Hotel for a few days. Well, I know for a fact he's got quite a senior position at my business. He knows he can't do that now. If he's got to have 14 days off for having a long weekend at the Senator. So,
doesn't make a viable proposition.
It's stopped that kind of, impromptu, quick decision making.
I agree. But the problem we have is that though, when the UK media starts saying things like, you'd be mad to book a holiday this summer, then most people are going to go, I'd be mad to book a holiday this summer, so I won't. Whereas you just told me you're going to come back.
Yeah, we'll come back.
So are you mad?
Problem. Sometimes.
She gets angry a lot. I don't know about mad.
Do you know what I mean? I find that quite insulting.
Then because we've been coming here 25 years, I guess we've got a different mindset.
Yeah.
And we've been here during coronavirus, so we know it's safe. We feel comfortable here. We're not worried about it.
Two potential bits of good news. One is that there's talk about lowering the quarantine period from 14 to 10 days today. I think the government are coming under pressure.
Subject to a test, I think, though, isn't
it?
And
also they're putting testing stations in all the airports, or hoping to.
Right.
150 quid. And you can have a little test, and it tells you within 24, 48 hours if you're okay or not. And if you are, then you don't have to quarantine.
It's 60 quid from Superdrug, incidentally.
Right.
That's outrageous, 150 quid.
Yeah, I mean, that's what I heard in the media, so it's probably fake. But,
fake news.
Again, I think they're trying to wriggle the way out of it a little bit. I don't know, who knows.
The thing is, they can't just backtrack because they'll lose face, so they're going to have to find another way around it. So this is their way of finding another way around it.
They did that with the corridors. That's what I can't understand. Is they said everybody's going to have to quarantine to come into the UK, full stop. Then they had all the pressure from quite rightly from the airlines and from the holiday companies. So they then created this corridor, which surprise, surprise, happened to be all the places people wanted to go away. Greece, with the exception, bless them, of Portugal.
Yeah,
for some
reason, they did wrong.
They've really not had any kind.
And they still don't know what they did wrong.
They don't know what they've done wrong at all. So they've done all that. So they've already backtracked once.
Yeah.
And now they're in a position where they've completely turned that on its head. You'd say, from the figures you've just called out, indiscriminately, for huge parts of Spain. So how can they backtrack again? I mean, they'll probably try, as you say, and try down to 10 days. But this government just seems to just fire from the hip. They don't seem to have any.
Coherence about it. And also what we must remember, of course, is the first 2 weeks of this pandemic, they were letting everyone in.
Yeah.
No question.
Not just 2 weeks. It was a lot longer.
The flights still coming from America.
There was 10 flights.
So while Italy and Spain were locking down, they were letting everyone in. And I don't think the Spanish have forgotten that. So now that they're almost trying to destroy our tourism industry, the Spanish are like, hang on a minute. For those opening weeks, that opening salvo of all this, you were letting everyone into your country without
China, everywhere,
even China.
Even China.
Anything else to add?
Anything else to add? No,
we're starting to get a bit political there, weren't we? Really?
Yeah. So that's switching off a bit.
Probably time.
Sorry, listeners.
Yeah,
it's past the yard arm. We probably need a drink now.
Yeah, exactly. So it's time for a bottle. It's time to go by the pool for the rest of your day. You're out on a boat on Saturday.
We are.
So life's good, yeah.
Yeah, life's good.
And then you're going to try and get home next week.
Yeah,
and then you're going to come
maybe
back.
Try and get a new liver somewhere in between that.
Oh dear. Well, thank you so much for joining me. I do appreciate it. It's nice to speak to some normal people. And then I couldn't find any, so I just thought I'd speak to you guys.
We were a lot cheaper.
You were a hell of a lot cheaper. But no, it's nice because a lot of these podcast episodes we have so-called experts, so we have real estate experts, we have lawyers, blah 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 blah. But I think some of our listeners may think we have a hidden agenda. Good heavens, as if. So it's nice to have some people who've lived it, who've got a nice objective view about things. So
I think if you've got clients that are kind of on the fence a little bit, I'll just say, what are you waiting for?
What are you waiting for?
Get over here.
Jump!
Jump!
Thank you guys, much appreciated. And listeners, we will see you next time.
Cheers.